Today's lesson is on unordered lists. If we get to it, we'll get to an ordered list. So let's get started with the basics here. Shrink this down. Let's bring our notepad here, our code. Okay, basically unordered lists start with the tag UL. Okay, so unordered list. Now an ordered list is OL. But anyway, let's worry about unordered list. Next, you're going to do is you're going to have a line item or a list item, LI, and it's going to be blah blah blah. Okay. Now, LI does not need an ending tag. It just takes up the entire line. It's a block tag, LI. But I do need to end the UL. Okay. So let's see what we have with just the basics without doing any kind of CSS or anything like that. It's going to Control S, refresh, and go back to my web page here, refresh, and I have an unordered list. Okay, by default you get solid squares. Now if you're not doing anything super fancy, let's go ahead and give us some options here. Let's go back to our code here. We could do it as a style, UL, list style type, list dash style dot type, and let's do square. Okay, so you've got a couple options here. You got square, you got circle. Hey, I thought you just had square there, circle there. I'll show you here in a little bit. Okay, Control S, refresh, and there you go. Okay, there you got squares. Okay, now I just want to go old school here. Look, if I hate to type myself, so if you have an option with inside the UL, it's not inland style, it's type is equal to let's say square. I can then do the exact same thing. So if you're not doing anything super, got background colors or whatever, images, you can just do type is equal to square, and then type is equal to circle. Okay. What's going to happen though is the UL CSS will override this type here because it's not a style type like an inland style. But anyway, if you just got one, just save it. Just the old-fashioned way is a little more. The old-fashioned way is just a little less typing. So let's go ahead and give us the other option I can do is circle. Okay, Control S, refresh, and then I got blatant circles. Okay. You also have, even though it is unordered, I can do a bunch of other types. You could do Armenian, Hebrew, Lower Latin, Upper Greek. Let's go ahead and do just one just to get that out of the way. So we can do there's an entire list in the notes. We'll do upper Roman, Control S, and it becomes an ordered list. The only problem with this is, though, if I embed an unordered, I cannot embed an unordered list inside an unordered list and the count or the index still is correct. I have to go back and go ahead and change it to an ordered list. What do you mean? I've got to go and change this from a UL to an OL. Okay, organized list to OL. Okay, and then if I embed something, then it'll work out correctly. Okay, but for now, I'm just gonna I'll probably do a separate video because I realize I'm running on it. I've already done 5 minutes, and I've only got a certain amount of time, so I'll probably do an ordered list as a separate video. Okay, now what I want to talk about is a lot of times people put little GIFs that you have in here. You can go down to clip art, go on to Google, go grab what you want. Okay, so a lot of times you also have this style of an image. So I can pop in an image URL. I have got nothing that remotely get close to a small clip art. So let's just put Superman just to see what you get. Okay. So when I do this, I'm going to get the very edge of my photo. Okay, Superman photo here, and Control period. Okay, and let's see what we got. Control S, refresh, and then I get a Superman photo. Hey, what happened to my text? There's my line item, shows up at the bottom. Okay. What I want to do about here is talk about, there is a way around it. Let's go ahead and see if I can get my notes here, and I'll throw it up onto that screen. Yeah, here you go, workaround. I'll throw that out on the website. Let's go ahead and talk about it really quickly. There you go. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying list style type nothing. I don't want anything indented. Now a UL-LI. So for the LI item that I want to display, before you display that usual LI item, in this type I want, you may remember this if you saw the extended text formatting where I had to put, I did before and did after. I'm doing the same thing here. Before you do it, generally in the last exercise I put content, I put words in here. Here I don't want any content at all. What I want is to display it inline block. What's inline block? I think we discussed about block and inline, and then there's inline block. What it says is, look, I want to continue on the same line, but I don't want you to start a new line. Just give me this block of area, which I will define. So in this case, I got 20 pixels by 20 pixels. You can change it to whatever you want, 30 by 30 pixels, 20 by 20, and then throw in your background image. And then background, no repeat. None of this should be new. And the only other thing here, which we haven't talked about, is margin right. Margin right means I put a little bit of margin off to the right of 5 pixels. So let's go ahead. I'm going to copy and paste this. I'm not expecting to type it, but feel comfortable enough where, oh yeah, that makes sense. So let's Control C, and then go over here, shrink it down, and then go to Notepad, and let's put it into our style. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of Superman. Well, I can get rid. I don't want to get rid of Superman, but let's go ahead, Control C. There you go. And then I'm in this case change it to Superman. So this is a way of getting control of your photos if you want to put an image or clip art as your list style. Anyway, Control S, refresh, and there you go. So I've got little pictures of Superman. Obviously, those are too small. Then you can go in the code and change them if 20 by 20 is not enough. Okay. Now, what I want to talk about is a lot of times lists, especially unordered lists, become nav bars. Even if we go out to awesome font or some of the plugins like Bootstrap, the basis of all of it is unordered lists. So let's go ahead and turn this into sort of a nav bar that we can control. I want to do this just one line at a time, so it doesn't feel like a memorization, but it makes some intuitive sense to you. Okay, because we're going to come back later, hover, I want it to change color, I'll put images, maybe put an animation in here. It's going to get a little more involved. I just want to make sure we get the basics down pat. So okay, there you go. So list item, let's go ahead and delete all this stuff. Okay, I've got some have-tos, so let's go ahead and we'll start with the first one. List item, I'm just going to have display. Display I want is inline. So what I want is the text not taking up separate lines, but showing up in one line. Okay, so Control S, refresh. So again, list style type none. Okay, I won't have anything, and then inline. Shrink it down, refresh. There you go. So I've got the 3 items all laid out one next to each other. Let's go to Notepad again, and let's throw in, just so we can see it, background color of whatever. Background, whatever, pink. Good enough. Okay, Control S, refresh. And there you go. Okay, cool. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is a sort of a box model in web design. Every element is basically, the computer thinks it is one big box. And there's boxes we can put, so the element, there's the padding, which is inside the element, there's the border, which we'll talk about later, and then there's the margin, which is outside the element. So let's go ahead and do some inside. I want to make that pink box a little bigger. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Bring it up. And so let's do that by putting a padding. So padding means extend myself out 20 pixels. Okay, Control S. Let's see what we get on the results. Refresh. Okay, now I've got a little pink box now that's 20 on each side. Okay, next, hey, I'd like to put a little separation between these items. fine. Exactly. So what would I use? I would use margin because margin is outside the element. So let's go ahead and go back to my code and then go ahead and do margin. So we could do margin. And if I just use one number, the margin gives me it all the way around. Top, right, bottom, left. We'll get into more details. You can specify top, left, bottom, right for batting and margin, etc. But I'm running out of time. I only got about 3 more minutes left in this video, so I got to hustle. So anyway, put it at 20 pixels. There you go. And then Control S. Oops. Make it 10 pixels. Just 10 px. There you go. Control S. Refresh. And there you go. Okay. And then finally, just to put on a touch of the usual, I want this thing centered. So again, you can do it either with the UL up here in the style command, or you can do it down here as a div, inline div, whatever makes sense to you. I'll do it here as a div. So div style is equal to text align center. Okay. And then I'm going to do a div here at the end, and that will align my text. And then from there I can build nav bars or do whatever I want in future lessons. So Control S, refresh, and now it becomes centered. Now eventually we'll talk about how to get it, but this is the basics of an unordered list and how I make an unordered list into a basic simple nav bar, which will eventually hook up links to other pages, etc. later on down the line. So today's lesson in unordered lists.